Shalom to you, like giving all praise and honor glory to you. How about Shem Yashai, Bishop McCook giving double honor to the other apostles and other bishops of Great Millstone, who all peace and citation to elect. Shem Yahweh is a mopper from the Great Millstone Plaintables Camp of Philadelphia, coming with another week lesson. Peak earnings pulse, consumer pullback theme gains momentum. It says here a series of disappointing earnings with peak earnings season this week from fast food chains, beverage joints, beverage giants, and customer companies underscores persistent financial strain on low and middle income customers, pressured by lingering Biden era inflation, or really just inflation in general. Because these are end times, really, prophecies going on. Fears over tariffs and mounting economic uncertainty under the current administration. Which the current administration is Donald Trump, Republican, so-called, right? On Thursday, McDonald's reported the same stores that sales that tumbled 3.6% in the U.S., the largest year-over-year decline since the second quarter of 2020. Okay, and we know what happened during the 2020 time. You had the pestilence outbreak. So, again, things are not looking good, or things ain't bouncing back. McDonald's CEO Chris Kempczynski wrote in a statement that customers are grappling with uncertainty. He noted that McDonald's will be able to navigate even the toughest market conditions and gain market share. City analyzer John Tower told clients that McDonald's soft sales should come as a little surprise to investors, with fast food chains speaking to muted outlook, challenging global consumer back challenged global consumer back in February in category high frequency data. Other company first quarter updates all suggesting lower income guests were pulling back. And these big corporations, they pretty much rely on Jake on the low frequency to eat this food. Well, this what would be called food. Okay. I wouldn't call it nutrition. It says on Friday morning, Wendy's slashed its sales outlook for the year, signaling customers are dialing back to visit their stores and ticket spending. It says that Wednesday, CEO Kirk Tanner stated that the U.S. market faced a challenging consumer environment. The fast food chain warned the pullback in spending was more acute with customers making below $75,000. Again, this is just the prophecies happening, and people don't have money no more. It's over. This is going to be in the book of Proverbs, chapter 23 and 5. You can start a bit above. This is 23 and 4. It says, labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom. And most people, when they work, they try to get all this money, so that they can live the best life that they can live. House, car, food, groceries, fridge full of food, eating out, vacation, holidays, and entertainment, etc. Now all of that's coming to a close. It says, wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? Right. Which in this current time, a lot of people are living a facade. You know, they're seeing things. They seeing the things on Instagram. They seeing, people say they can. Okay, hit me up, man. Uh, you can be an escape and your current life and be financially free. Just take my program down, and then you find out it's just nothing but a scam just to get your money and you know waste your time. Because people they don't want to suffer, but we're in Babylon, and suffering is everywhere, man. We're in a valley of the shadow of death. It says here, for riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as the eagle towards heaven. It's your money. Okay, your money don't even go far no more. Okay. And you have it where people not even going to these stores no more. Okay, even Chipotle CEO says that Scott Boatwright, CEO of Chipotle, Chief Executive Officer, investors that a slowdown in consumer spending materialize, forcing lower it to lower the top end of its full year same store sales growth outlook. At the beginning of the week, Starbucks reported disappointing global comparable sales and profit with sliding U.S. demand. Yeah, Starbucks also slashed a lot of the different items they carry, talking about some, they're less desirables. It says Starbucks CEO Brian Nichols' turnaround strategy for the coffee chain appeared to have stumbled after the company reported 4 straight quarters of declining sales, and that's sales. That's Starbucks. It says our financial results don't yet reflect our progress, but we have a real moment with our back to Starbucks plan, Nicole told investors. So you have investors and they want to hear positive things because they're ready to pull out their money. Okay, you upfront the money in the company and they are expecting great return on their investment, but the returns ain't coming. All right, so they got to make up plans and just to be able to stay convincing, keep them on board, keep the scam running. Okay. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and 2. It says, vanities of vanities, said the preacher. Vanities of vanities, all is vanity. Okay. When you hear in Babylon, and living here in this earth, hey, you deal with a bunch of empty things, man. It says, what profit hath a man of all his labor which he hath taken under the sun? Right? What benefit? It says, one generation passed away and another cometh, but the earth abideth forever. Right? But when you working and your works are leading to nothing and you're being conned, a lot of people are really like, yo, look, I can't do this no more. I can't afford to make these mistakes anymore. Okay? Me personally, with the food has been so terrible. You trying all these different places, and even places you may have frequented before, but they're falling off now, and that's the Lord languishing this place. But the outlook is it's bad, man. Proverbs 27 and 24. For riches are not forever, and doth the crown endure to every generation? Yeah, so, with America that has gotten so much riches, as this scripture tell you in Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, Ezekiel 28 and verse 4, it says, with thy wisdom, that goes to the prince of Tyrus, which is Esau, Edom. This is, spiritually Tyrus, okay? It's talking about this place. That's what it's really talking about. All right. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thou hast gotten the riches and hast gotten the gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, the merchandising, thou hast increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. This man still, within his falling, is talking about, oh, well, actually, we have a plan, and it's called the Back to Starbucks plan because nobody's going to Starbucks anymore. And they, invested in the experience, Starbucks, you go in there, look clean, everybody look kind of yuppie, uh, real trendy, and everything is should be allegedly from higher quality ingredients when there's just more marketable or marketed junk, okay, in most cases. Okay, I remember somebody gave us a Starbucks gift card for some work, which is crazy because they wanted to offer us cash. we take the gift card. What they give us with the gift card, away we get junk. Some prepackaged junk that they done took out, pastry that tastes stale, and coffee that is probably not what they're saying it is. It's just a market claim. Okay, this is Colombian. Okay, but anyway, it says Yum Brands, which you should know Yum Brands from like places like KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, right? The parent also reported this week. Yum posted a mixed first quarter with sales slow down and begin to soften in January, but improved through February and March. But you can see a lot of the Pizza Huts are closed down. In Philadelphia, there's like a handful of those places. KFC's, there's a handful of those. Taco Bell, they got Taco Bell, KFC. They just merged them into one building. Okay? But, everything is talking about the outlook, but you just see on these graphs, you see decline, man. You see, increases and then you see declines as we go from 2009. Obviously, things were declining because of the 2008 crisis, but then you see, a big, bigger increases, and then you got decreases. But everything is volatile. Okay. It says here, this is what Goldman Sachs' take is. Sentiment remains very soft in consumer due to both sourcing and tariff concerns. Yeah, most people are worried about where they're going to get stuff at and how much they're going to pay. It says while investors are also focusing on the customer slowdown theme. Okay. You look into what the theme means. Theme is the subject or topic on what person writes or speaks. Okay. Theme goes back to thema, right? In the Latin, a subject or thesis, a proposition, a subject, a deposit, something set down or laid down. And what the Lord laid down the fall of Babylon. That's simple as that. Okay. Babylon is fallen. Okay. You have it here off of Bloomsburg.
And Ali, we were expecting some softness there. We certainly saw it on the U.S. side. One thing that was surprising, we actually saw a little bit more strength in China and overseas. What did you make of the report?
Yeah, I was encouraged to see the better results from the international segment. I think in terms of what we were looking for in the print, we're certainly expecting a little bit of a weaker print from a comp perspective, and certainly saw that in terms of the US, but not significantly worse than we were expecting, but definitely encouraged by the solid international results. So encouraged to see that.
And this girl, Abby Roach, is a global investment senior portfolio analysis. So when people, are doing different investments, okay, they go to consultant firms and such and, seek, hey, what do you think I should invest in so I can make a lot of money? Well, you should invest into Starbucks. Starbucks is projected to do this and that. Well, you end up finding out that Starbucks is just not going to bounce back. I'm just going to tell you that right there. Okay, I tell you here that the company shares slipped 1% and instead of trading, it has declined 7% so far this year. Y'all want to continue to lose?
What exactly do you want to hear out of Brian Nickel later today in terms of
And she don't care. She just as long as she keep getting her money.
articulating his long-term vision for Starbucks?
I think certainly we would like to hear an update on the different strategic initiatives that they've outlined. Some of the bigger things that we want to hear about, the focus on the 4-minute wait time for orders, any progress that they've made on that we think will be important. And then
They want it to improve so they can make more money.
also just in terms of the order sequencing within the app, that's a pilot test that they talked about during the Q1 call, and that was in just 3 stores, but I think it's something that's going to be very important for the future with the mobile ordering. So I'm curious to hear an update on that because I think it'll.
Because most people, they're moving so fast, and it's the new age where people do everything without really interacting with people. So that's important.
It'll be really important. Both of those metrics for improving throughput for Starbucks in the future.
I'm just going to jump in here really quickly because we also just got earnings out of Snap, the social media company that teenagers love. And here we have a company saying its daily active users were about 460 million, just slightly higher than the expected 459. And that top line revenue has grown, but headwinds began in the current quarter. First quarter revenue coming at $1.36 billion, just slightly above the consensus estimate of $1.35 billion. And Snap has omitted formal guidance for this quarter because of the uncertain macro conditions.
So they can't even tell you nothing. Like, all right, if you invest in this, well, nah, we leaving that out right now. We don't know what's gonna happen right now, but these people know what's gonna happen. We'll tell you what happened. This is the theme. Okay, the theme is Ecclesiastes 12 chapter. Okay, that's what the theme is. What the Lord says in His prophecies. That's the theme. He's the writer anyway. Okay. And as I said, hey, at the camp yesterday. The prophets, we got the first jump on things because the Lord, He tells us what it is. All right. This is Isaiah chapter 46 and verse 9. It says, remember the former things of old, for I am Yahweh Bashem El Shai, and there is no God, or there is none else. I am the Most High Power, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not done yet, are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So the Lord is doing His chapatazah, or His pleasure. All right. You have chapatazah, which is my pleasure. All right. I said chapatazah, or chapatazah, because I said His pleasure. But when the Lord's speaking, He's saying my pleasure. I will do my pleasure. All right. Which it says, well, call in all chapatazah Aisha. All right. So that means in all, call, in all. Call is all, as a prefix meaning in. Okay. You have chapatazah, which goes into the pleasure or delight. Ya as a suffix means my, And then you have before the word, which means I. Aisha, meaning to do or make or work. All right. I will do. As you can see, you can see in the definition. All right. His counsel, you can see, I tazah the ya, my counsel. I tazah is the root, and the ya just make it mine. Tha quam, which is to stand. All right, shall stand. All right. So, the Lord, he tells us, these things. All right. Hebrews chapter 1:1. It says, Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, who at sundry times in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. Okay, and the Lord will come and speak to the prophets and give them the word. So the word is this, Ecclesiastes, even Obadiah, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and it says in verse 3, in the days when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders or the work cease because they are few, and those that look out of windows be darkened. Okay, and those that look at the window is these different economists. All right, you got these different analyzers, financial analyzers. Look, even portfolio analysis. Hey, the future. When they looking into the future, which they'll look into these different various numbers, graphs, and they see that things are not improving. The Lord got a pattern showing that this is over. Okay. So, they'll try to do their best to keep things going, but things eventually is gonna come to a complete halt. All right, and they'll come with a new system. Okay. But things are just gonna continue to get worse. All right. So that's all that I got in the spirit for now. Shalom to elect, all praise and honor, glory to Yahweh Shemashai. Hashem B'Kakadash.